right, so welcome in, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always ready.
Awesome. So today we're really going to kind of unpack this whole thing about how social media has just totally rewritten the rules of what it even means to be a celebrity anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's a whole different world now.
Totally. So we've got this script here, and it really dives into fame in the digital age. And let me tell you, it's pretty fascinating stuff. I mean, we're going to be talking about people becoming famous literally overnight, the whole
Yeah,
thing about crafting that perfect online persona, the
right.
power of fandoms, and oh, and of course we got to talk about cancel culture, right?
Can't avoid that one.
No, it's everywhere. But here's the big question, right? Has social media actually made fame more accessible? Is it easier to become a celebrity now because of it? Or has it just I don't know, just made everything way more intense and pressured?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's definitely, well, it's interesting how platforms like Instagram and TikTok, they become almost like the new Hollywood, haven't they?
That's true.
They've created this whole system for people to become famous. And it's totally separate from the old way of, movies and record deals and all that.
It's mind-blowing. You can have one viral video and boom, your life has changed overnight. In fact, the script, it actually gives an example of someone whose life just completely changed from one viral video. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
But is it really that simple?
Well, not always. It's not just like random luck or anything. These platforms, they all have these crazy algorithms, right?
Oh, yeah.
And those algorithms, they really decide who gets seen, who gets that boost into fame, and they favor certain types of content, which is why you see all these trends popping up all the time, and why certain creators, they just rise to the top. It's almost like there's a science to it, you know?
Oh, interesting. So are you saying there's a strategy involved? It's not just being in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. It's more like think of it like micro influencer marketing. You know how those folks, they build a dedicated following, often within a really specific niche.
Right, right.
And then brands, they come along and they use that influencer's influence to reach that target audience. It's like a whole ecosystem, and it's all built around this new kind of celebrity.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. It's social media has made its own economy, like an economy of fame. But this whole thing with celebrities sharing their lives online all the time, it really makes you think about the boundaries there, Like the script even mentioned how some fans feel like they actually know these celebrities personally just from, interacting with them online. Is that a genuine connection, or is it just really, really good marketing?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, it all ties into this thing called a parasocial relationship. Just think about it. You're scrolling through your feed, and then you see a post from some celebrity talking about their day, their problems, their struggles, trying to be all relatable. It's like it creates this illusion of intimacy, like you're actually getting this little peek into their real life.
Yeah, and because they're letting us into their world, we feel closer to them. But how much of it's real? How much of what we see is actually genuine?
That is the question. And the script seems to suggest that a lot of it, a lot of what we see is very carefully crafted. It's a persona, it's a highlight reel, and it's designed to create a very specific image, which then makes you thinking, wow, there must be a ton of pressure on these celebrities to keep up this flawless facade, especially with millions of people watching their every move online.
Yeah, it's like they're constantly living in this fishbowl, always being watched. And I wonder, do we as the audience, the consumers of all this, do we kind of contribute to that pressure to be perfect by buying into it all?
Oh, absolutely. I think we do. I mean, we say we want people to be authentic and real, but then we tend to gravitate towards the picture perfect stuff, And the script, it even talks about how this whole pressure to be perfect all the time, it can really lead to burnout and mental health issues for these celebrities. It's kind of a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's sad actually. It's like we're almost holding them hostage to this idea of perfection. But the script also talks about how social media has really given fans a voice in a way that we've never seen before. Like they can engage directly with these celebrities and even hold them accountable for things. And that brings us to cancel culture, which the script kind of portrays as this double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's definitely a complicated thing, that's for sure. On the one hand, you have, the power of a lot of people coming together to call out behavior that's harmful, and they can demand better from the people they support. It can be a really positive force for change.
Right, right. But then there's the other side of it too,
Yeah.
where it becomes this mob mentality and accusations are flying around everywhere and people are being judged and condemned without a chance to even defend themselves. The script really gets into that tension between, wanting people to be accountable, but also the danger of things going too far and people being treated unfairly.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember how social media itself, like the way these platforms work, they actually make those dynamics even more intense. Like you can have one tweet, just one tweet, and it goes viral. A hashtag can be trending all over the world in just a couple of hours. And those algorithms, they can push certain stories to the top of our feeds, whether they're true or not.
So it's not just about what's being said, but how it spreads and how these platforms, how they amplify it all.
Exactly. And with cancel culture, I mean, things can just escalate so quickly. It's like a digital court of public opinion, and the verdict can be super harsh and very quick.
And then unforgiving, like there's no going back.
Yeah, and it makes you think, what are the long-term consequences of all this? Is it really about holding people accountable and helping them to grow and learn? Or is it more about public shaming and punishment? The script doesn't really give easy answers, but it definitely makes you think about the power we all have online and the responsibility that comes with that power.
It's heavy stuff, but it's an important conversation to have for sure. And the script also doesn't shy away from asking these really tough questions about the future of fame in this whole social media world that's constantly changing.
Yeah, yeah. It ends with this really thought-provoking question. Will fame just become even more fleeting? Or will we see a new kind of celebrity emerge, one that's more authentic, more vulnerable, more genuinely connected to their audience?
It's almost like a challenge to us, isn't it? Like what kind of celebrity culture do we want to create? Do we keep chasing this illusion of perfection or do we demand something more real, something more human?
Yeah, it's about finding that balance, I think. Recognizing the pressures these people face, but also holding them accountable. And we have a role to play in this too, as the viewers, the audience. We can be more discerning about what we watch, what we consume, who we follow.
So it's not just about passively watching the show, but actually participating in shaping it. We have a voice and we can use it to support the people who are using their platform for good and to challenge those who are doing things that are harmful or promoting unrealistic expectations.
Right, right. And maybe, just maybe, if we're more aware, more conscious of how we're engaging, we can we can help to push things in a better direction.
I like that. That's hopeful. But I got to be honest, it's hard for me to picture a world where celebrities are just completely open and vulnerable given how much scrutiny they're under all the time. Wouldn't that make them even more open to attacks and criticism?
That's a valid point, and it really shows how complicated this whole thing is. There's a fine line between being authentic and protecting yourself, but I think there's a difference between sharing everything and just being human, you know.
You mean like showing their flaws, admitting when they mess up, and not being afraid to have those tough conversations?
Exactly. It's about breaking down that wall of perfection and showing that they're just like us. They're flawed, they're complex, they're trying to figure things out just like everyone else.
But wouldn't that require us to change our expectations too as the audience? I mean, we're so used to seeing this curated, perfect, almost aspirational version of people. Would we really embrace something more real, something a little messier?
That's the challenge, right? To redefine what we value in a celebrity, to look beyond the surface and appreciate the people who are willing to be vulnerable, to be authentic, even if it means they're not perfect. And that change in how we think, that might be the key to creating a celebrity culture that's actually sustainable and more compassionate.
So it's not just about celebrities changing how they act, it's about us, the audience, changing how we consume and engage with their content. We have to be more critical, more discerning, and just more aware of how our own actions impact things.
Definitely. It's a two-way street. Celebrities need to be more responsible, and we need to be more conscious of how we're consuming all this stuff. And if we can find that middle ground, maybe, just maybe, we can make this digital world a place where fame is less about putting on a show and more about real connection and just shared humanity.
It's weird, right? Like we want realness, but we also reward this super polished image. It's like we're kind of stuck in this system that we both love and hate, you know?
Yeah, I get that. And the script, it really digs into that. Like the the ethical stuff we have to deal with now with celebrities and social media. It's like we're always wrestling with these big questions about privacy, and responsibility and just the impact of us all constantly watching these people.
You mentioned privacy, and it makes me think about how, like, celebrities are basically under surveillance all the time, right? Like,
Yep.
every single thing they do, everything they say, it's all documented and analyzed online.
It's like they're living in this digital, I don't know, like a panopticon. Like they always know they're being watched and judged and probably recorded. And that's got to be tough on their mental health. Like how can you really be yourself when, you know, millions of people are scrutinizing every little thing you do.
Yeah, it's like they can never really turn it off. They always have to be on, you know?
Right.
They can never just be themselves, make mistakes, or have a bad day without it being like broadcast to the world. And in the script, it talks about the consequences of that pressure, the burnout, the anxiety, the toll it takes on their personal lives. And it's kind of scary.
It is, and it makes you wonder, are we part of the problem? I mean, we demand perfection from these people, and then we tear them down when they don't live up to it.
It's true. It's like we want them to be relatable, but we also hold them to this crazy high standard that's impossible to reach. And the script, it really pushes us to think about like the ethics of how we engage online. Like our likes, our comments, our shares, do they help or do they make things worse? Are we part of the problem or are we part of the solution?
That's the question. I think it's about finding that balance, holding people accountable, but also recognizing that they're human. They're allowed to make mistakes and learn from them.
Right. It's about having a conversation,
Yeah.
like allowing for nuance, understanding that people are complicated and they can grow and change. And that means we got to be more mindful of what we do online too, like pause before we judge, think about the impact of what we say.
Exactly, because everything we do online, it has a real impact. A careless comment can turn into a huge thing. A meme we share can spread a harmful stereotype. It's powerful stuff. We really need to be using our influence online carefully and with compassion.
So where do we go from here? Like how do we balance our love of celebrity culture with with all the ethical problems it brings up? It feels like we're at this turning point where we have to decide what kind of digital world we actually want.
I think it starts with empathy. Like remembering that behind those perfect Instagram posts and curated tweets, there are real people with feelings and struggles and the same basic human needs as us.
And maybe we need to adjust our expectations too. Like
Yeah,
can we accept a more nuanced idea of fame, one that allows for mistakes and growth and values authenticity over this idea of perfection?
it's a big challenge, but I think we can get there. And the script, it ends on this hopeful note that maybe the future of fame isn't about trends or fake personas, but about real connection, being vulnerable, and treating each other, even celebrities, like human beings.
That's a goal worth working towards, for sure. Like, imagine a world where being famous doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being, where we value realness over fakeness, and we all do our part to create a more compassionate and fair digital world.
That's the dream, right?
It is. Well, on that note, I think we'll leave everyone with this one last thought. As you're scrolling through your feeds and interacting with all this celebrity stuff, ask yourself, what role do you want to play in shaping how this whole thing evolves?
That's a great question.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep working towards a better digital world.